If you're going through a difficult time right now, a difficult life transition, for example, a breakup, a divorce, a loss of some sort, I know this is really, really, really hard, and it can be so overwhelming and lonely. So if you're experiencing that right now, then know that there is actually a process happening, a process of realignment. This is not random, and you're not being punished, even though it can feel like that. But there is a structure to that, and usually, at least in my experiences, that's 6 phases of a difficult life transition. That knowing that would probably really help you to move through this maybe with a bit more ease.
Hello everyone, my name is Christine, and I help people navigate difficult life transitions, trauma healing and transformation. And today I talk about difficult life transitions, right? So something bad happens in your life, some crisis, some forced change. That usually is a loss of something or someone. Like in my own life, I had already many difficult phases in my life, changes, transitions. The first big one was over 14 years ago when my then long-term relationship collapsed. I had a very toxic work environment, like psychological abuse, basically, pressure, stress, bullying, and I just left. I just left everything behind, and I started traveling, backpacking, and then I chose to not go back into my old life. I chose to move to Thailand and fulfill my dream of becoming a scuba dive instructor. And that then was maybe like 2 years, and that collapsed again, and then my whole healing journey started. And that set off a very long phase over a decade of healing and transformation while living a nomadic life and while having a relationship that at time I didn't know was very, very karmic. I was convinced the entire time that we are soulmates and that we will stay together forever. And a lot of the healing that I did was for us, for our future, because I knew that something was wrong with me. Only years later, I discovered that I had lots of trauma, and I did lots and lots of healing. And of course, I did it for myself, but a lot I did for us, that we are able to finally settle down, maybe have a family, have a future, live happily ever after, right? So that was my motivation for this decade-long healing journey, or one of the main motivations. And then and that happy end didn't work out the way I wanted it to be. Suddenly, I mean, it was not really suddenly, but like there were 2.5 years where it was already started to show that this relationship was crumbling. But I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to hear it, so I denied it, and I stayed in one of my main trauma responses, which was illusion and fantasy and false hope and stuff like that. And I will talk a bit more about that later. So when it happened about 16 months ago, that was the moment where the rug was pulled from under my feet, because it was not just a normal relationship breakup or separation. Like, my whole identity was with him. My whole life was with him, and the future that I was working towards and that I was healing so much for. And I didn't know how much attachment trauma I had, how much codependency and enmeshment there was, and that the relationship was more karmic than healthy or soulmate or anything. So at that time, it felt like death. It felt like absolute annihilation of self and of everything that I knew and held dear. And I lost not only him, I lost our home, our cat. I had to leave, almost overnight. And I moved to Bali without really knowing that the breakup was really final, because in the first few months it was not very clear, because we both didn't really want to face it. But then, of course, it was final. And anyway, so this was my big tower moment. Like in the tarot card, when the tower just crumbles, like everything that you built your life on collapses. That could be a relationship, it could be a career, it could be, it's usually our entire identity is tied up with that one thing, with that relationship, with that career, or whatever else it is. And when something like that happens, the tower moment, then not only does that job or that relationship crumble, your entire sense of self crumbles. And I'm going to talk about that later in the phases. But yeah, just know that this is very, very, very difficult when something like that happens. And when you are right now in one of these difficult life transitions, when the crisis just happened, when a change was forced upon you that you did not ask for, my heart goes out to you, and I send you so much love, because I know from experience how difficult this is. There is just no better way to say it. It really sucks. It really does. But this is also a chance. It's a chance for positive change, even if it doesn't feel like this right now. So the first phase, which is not really yet the phase of that tower moment, is all the years or maybe decades that come before that, and that is the stuckness or stagnation phase. You are like, maybe you're even okay, you're quite comfortable, maybe not so much, like you have some sort of stability and you live in your comfort zone and you have maybe a job that, that provides you with income. Maybe you don't really like it, or maybe it's like really bad, like mine was. Maybe it's okay, but it doesn't really fulfill you. Maybe it's the same with a relationship. It's okay, but it doesn't really make you that happy, or maybe it's not good. Maybe it's really toxic, actually. And life is not really flowing. There is not really much movement. It's kind of always the same, day after day after day, decade after decade. There's not much movement. It's always the same thing, and it feels like a plateau, and you feel really stuck, and there is dissatisfaction with your life and with the situation you're in, but you don't really know what to do. You don't really know what to change. And maybe you don't really want to change anything, because you convince yourself that life is okay, and you're grateful that you have that job and that relationship and that home and that thing, and everyone else around you is having the same life and is doing the same thing, and it seems just so normal, and it's fulfilling other people's expectations and maybe your own expectations of how life is supposed to work, and social standards or social conventions and stuff like that. And so you convince yourself everything is okay, but you just feel really stuck when you're really honest with yourself, and you're not very happy, and maybe you're really dissatisfied with life. And this phase can take many years, if not decades. It's actually really the entire life before some sort of rupture happens, that tower moment I was speaking of, that very often goes hand in hand with some sort of spiritual awakening. But all before that, that's the way we live our life, because we're told to live it that way, because we do what our parents did, because also we are quite unconscious and unaware of all our patterns. We just act on all our unhealed trauma and wounds and patterns and karmic patterns, and we're just really not aware of it. So that is phase 1. Phase 2 is the big tower moment. The loss, the breakup, the moment you learn that he cheated on you, the moment he or she tells you it's over. Something bad happens, some rupture that very, very often means loss. The loss of the relationship, the loss of the job, the loss of home, the loss of stability and security, and the loss of your life as it has been up to this moment. It's really, it's the tower crumbling, everything starts collapsing. And there is very, very often, that in and of itself is already a trauma. It's a shock moment. Maybe there is some fragmentation, like your psyche, your soul, something just splits off because it's really a trauma. It's a traumatic moment. And then very often we don't really believe what's happening. It's like there's like this shock and this disbelief of this can't really be happening to me and this shouldn't be happening. And there is like a denial, It's a bit like the 5 phases of grief or something, or when someone dies, that there's a disbelief. It's like, no, this is not happening. And this can't be happening to me, maybe to other people, but not to me. So this is very, very normal, okay? And yeah, so this is really very, very difficult. This moment of rupture but this is when everything starts. This is when the change starts. And I know it doesn't feel that way. I really know. But just try to be open to the idea that this change is for the better. Try to be open to the idea that this change is not a punishment and it's not forced on you in that sense. It's meant to free you from maybe even a prison that you didn't even know that you lived in. It's even a sort of a liberation moment, but in a very brutal way. And that needs to be said. There's just no better way to say it than just to be honest now that it sucks so hard and it's so difficult and it's so painful. And that it's just the truth of what it is. And yeah, again, my heart goes out to you. And I know exactly how that feels like. But just know in this moment that it will get better. It will get better from now on. In this phase, it's also apart from the denial and the resistance and the shock. It's easy to fall back into victim mode or to get stuck in victim mode. Like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? All this bad stuff is always happening to me. Life is punishing me. God is punishing me, and stuff like that. And just know that this is also very normal. But try not to get stuck in that victim consciousness. Try to, and I said it in other videos, try to be open to the idea that on some level, you chose this, you chose to experience this, on a soul level maybe, and know that it is really for your highest and best. It's for your highest good. Because the life that you've lived up to now, within that particular set of circumstances, relationships, and so on, just kept you stuck, Your highest path, your soul's path for your life, plan for your life could not start really, could not unfold because for whatever reason, karmic trauma, subconscious patterns, ancestral patterns, ego mind's fear of leaving the comfort zone and of change and the unknown and all of that plays into this thing that kept you trapped. So again, be open to the idea that maybe on some reality you chose this and it could be for your highest good, while acknowledging that it really, really hurts. And also be aware of not falling back or again into your numbing, distracting, and maybe even addictive patterns and behaviors. Like, for example, for 14 and a half years ago, when I left the first time and all that crumbled and I started traveling, and I mean, it was so amazing. It was, I mean, I was scared to death. I was sometimes lonely. I was crying. I was so scared. But at the same time, I had adventures. I met amazing people. I started scuba diving. I did lots and lots of amazing, cool things in beautiful, exotic places. It was just exhilarating. But I didn't use it this time as a, let's say, as a launching board. It's a launching platform for a true lasting transformation and in a healing journey. I was falling back into my usual old patterns of just drinking too much and smoking and going out all the time and having one guy after the other, the so-called love addiction that at that time I didn't even know that I had. And it was not really just love addiction. It was, of course, the trauma response, and because of attachment trauma and father wounds and all of that. But I just could have started already back then with the real work, and I didn't. And you probably know what I'm talking about. And maybe you did that more than once, and just know that this is okay. It's normal. It's human. It's very, very, very difficult, especially when we have unhealed trauma and we are in lots of pain. It's extremely difficult to then immediately start some sort of healing journey. And it's very, very normal to want to numb the pain and fall back into our numbing and addictive patterns. So just be very aware of that and very careful at this point. And when you are ready, when your soul is ready, when your consciousness is ready, then something new can begin. First, phase number 3 will begin. And I want to say first that these phases are not fixed. There's no fixed order. It was the order for me. For you, it could look a little different, and it's not linear. They are looping. You come back to that phase. You're out of that phase, and then you come back to that phase. It's a bit messy. It's not linear. But then usually after that shock, that tower moment phase, the third one is the grief. Of course, when you lose someone or something, then there is a grief phase. And that grief phase can take, depending on the situation, can take months or years. And that grief phase usually, or very often, commingles, is that a word, with phases of, again, denial, of this is not happening, which is basically also, and this was a big one for me, it's a trauma response when we have magical thinking, fantasy, illusions. Like in my case, for many, many, many months, I was grieving, and that it's like it came in waves. Like the grieving was so strong this time. I had to grieve everything that was ungrieved this lifetime and many lifetimes before that. And all of that grief came up, and it was like a tsunami wave, and it was just like whoosh, and I couldn't push it away anymore. Luckily, I already had done so much healing that I would not fall back into my old numbing or addictive patterns. So this time I had to face it. And that was brutal. Like when you have to face grief like that, it's brutal. But just know that grieving is super important. It's so important to let yourself feel that. And to let those grief waves roll over you and through your body, and feel them in the body, and let yourself cry and let your body move and yell and scream and whatever is necessary. Just really do not ever suppress that. This is like so important. Please let yourself feel it. Cry it out, whatever is necessary, just feel it. It was so strong for me, but at the same time, whenever I released something after a major grief wave, guess what came back? The wishful thinking that it's all just for, it's a temporary separation and we all come back together, like that illusion, that false hope, that wishful thinking, that came back so strongly, and it was crazy making, because I knew, my rational mind knew it was over. My body was grieving like crazy, told me the truth, but I had something in my psyche and I could see it. And it's almost a year ago when I got really aware of it the first time. There was like a monstrous psychic structure that was once created, I guess when I was very, very little, to protect me from having to face the truth. The truth of my parents, the truth of, the house I was living in, the truth of the dysfunctional patterns and the trauma and all of that I had to live through. And children are very, very dependent on their parents. They cannot admit to themselves that they don't feel safe in their own home with their own parents. But they do feel that something is wrong, so they internalize it and they think, okay, something is wrong with me. They can absolutely not think that, okay, my father is traumatized himself, that's why he yells at me and beats me up and never tells me he loves me. Or my mother is traumatized herself, and she is a hungry ghost who uses me for regulation and for sucking the life out of me and calls it love. And it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them. A child cannot think like that. It's impossible. So we develop these psychic protection mechanisms or structures of things like fantasy. And it's also called a fantasy bond. Like they have a fantasy bond with their mother or their father. It's not a real bond of real connection and real attunement, because maybe they are not capable of that. So the child has a fantasy bond to an idealized parent that has nothing to do with the truth. And then later that fantasy bond repeats over and over in romantic relationships, for example, that has not much to do with the truth, because the partner is rather a fantasy than the truth. And that relationship is made into a fantasy rather than seen for what it really is. And when you're a spiritual person, then maybe you have already fallen for the twin flame thing, like everything is twin flame. I didn't, but for me it was soulmate. He's my soulmate. And I knew about karmic relationships. And then I rationalized that you can have a karmic relationship, but the soulmate bond is stronger. And maybe that's even true, I don't know. But like I found all kind of excuses why everything was somehow weird and difficult. And it was rather a fantasy bond than a true connection grounded in reality. And then you have, and then part of that other thing was like that illusion, the complete illusion. It was also like I had veils like around here. Like I could not really see the truth, because the truth would have killed me, in the sense of that little girl I once was that would have not been able to face the truth about her parents and about that life. So that just kept me trapped in living in an illusion and convincing myself that everything is great, while it wasn't. And even when he already told me that he's falling out of love and that it's most likely over and all of that, I ran to my oracle cards and to my pendulum and asked, oh, really? Like, what's going on? And then, of course, it showed me all the things that I wanted to see. And then can you believe that I chose to believe oracle cards instead of what he was telling me? Like, that's crazy almost. I'm sorry, but like I was deeply, that's probably not just an illusion anymore, that's a delusion. And it took me over a year to dismantle. And it was brutal. It was brutal because after every breakthrough of having grieved, of having faced that, of having released that, it came back. It kept on coming back. Yeah, but it's all for a reunion. It's God's elaborate plan to bring us back together. And I had to again and again and again face that and work with that until just a few months ago, I could then move past that and I saw the true root cause of this, which was the last exiled, very young, very vulnerable inner child part of me that I could integrate from a very, very early severe attachment trauma. That was at the bottom of all this. So it's all connected, inner child wounds and the trauma and the fantasy, escapism, illusion, denial, false hope, all of that could be, if you have that, you need to become aware of this. Because it really, really is very detrimental for your healing journey, because it sort of undoes the hard work of grieving, for example, that you're already doing, the hard work of trying to get your life back together, to make new choices, planning for a future that doesn't involve that person or that situation. But then that comes back, pulls you back into that old. And that hope is not helping you. And when I was still deep in the first month after the breakup, I was watching these videos, and it was all about how to get your ex back and how to let go in order to make him come back and all of that. And this is really not good. It's so bad. It gives you a sense of false hope. It did to me. And then when you try to let go and you lie to yourself that your ulterior motive is to make him come back, as some sort of, oh yeah, I let go and then the universe will somehow bring him back to me. These are these lies that the psychic protection structure of illusion and denial and false hope and fantasy is telling you. And this is so important to become aware of. So important. Become super aware of the lies that you tell yourself. Don't fall for these things that are everywhere, how to get him back or whatever, or going to tarot readers and palm readers in Bali. There's so many of them. Luckily, I didn't fall for it this time. And every time I thought I was going crazy, that was when I used oracle cards again. And they showed me again, soulmate and whatever. And I knew it's not true, but then I saw it in the cards, and then that part of me that wanted to believe it came back so much stronger. And the healing process was somehow sabotaged a little. But it was of course part of the healing process, at least in my case. So these waves of grieving and letting go could be mixed up with waves and phases of these false hope and illusion and fantasy and whatever, not admitting to yourself that this life is gone, that person is gone, the relationship is gone, and this is your life now, because it's just so hard to feel that. Phase 4, and this goes hand in hand with that grieving phase. At some point, you might hit rock bottom. At some point, you might just completely collapse and wanting to give up. Because you've reached a point with the grieving and everything where you're so exhausted. And most of all, your mind, your ego mind, has done the entire time before, it was still planning and trying to figure things out and trying to fix. And if we do this, then it gets better. And if we go there, it gets better. We just need one more healing session. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to try this technique. And at some point, you will understand that this is, this is not happening. This is it. This is it. There is nowhere to go. There's nothing to do anymore, and there's nowhere to go, and this is it. And maybe you lie on the floor in fetus position, or you are on your knees, and you're basically completely hitting the lowest point of your life, complete rock bottom. And this is the moment where everything can change for the better. This is basically like a golden moment of an absolute turning point in your life. If you manage to use it for complete surrender, and I don't mean like giving up. That's what you kind of feel like. I don't want anymore, I give up. Like, for example, I had my rock bottom moment last year in summer, where I just was crying. I had no one. I was so desperate, and I was just like lying on the floor and on my knees, and I was starting to pray, like, dear God, like, dear source, universe, like, I'm done. I give up. I don't know anything more. I don't know what to do or where to go. This is it. So please either take me or take over. And I don't want to talk about any kind of suicidal intentions. Please, if that is the case with you, please get help now. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, you know, don't even keep watching or anything. Just please get help now. Because it can be so overwhelming in that moment. But also know that this is the moment where everything turns around. And surrendering means, it doesn't mean giving up. It just means that your rational mind, your ego mind, it's in that moment there is an ego death happening. And you basically really, truly let something greater than yourself take over. I went a lot to 12 Steps meeting after this, and it's all about recognizing a power greater than yourself. So recognizing that basically you've lost control, power over your life, and you give it over to that power greater than yourselves. And it's not a religious thing. I don't tell you have to believe in any religion or God. It's just like whatever a power greater than yourself means for you. It could be your own soul, your higher self, your spirit guides, divine source, divine mother, you know, whatever, the Christ consciousness. Just in that moment, just surrender to that. Surrender to the power greater than yourself. And say, I don't know anymore. Please take over. Please show me the way. And then that really turned everything around for me. Because then you stop fighting. You stop figuring things out. You stop letting your mind, your ego do its thing. Your soul, your higher self, whatever, takes over. And in that moment, it's alignment. It's the true alignment with your soul starting. And from then moment onwards, your soul basically can finally, it's like finally, God, finally I have the go sign, the green light. And it can take over. And from that moment onwards, it can show you the way, and you don't have any more that same kind of resistance or doubts. You are much more in tune with your intuition. You just have a much more basic sense of trust. Trust in yourself, trust in what's happening, trust in what's unfolding, trust in new people coming into your life, trust in whatever someone tells you that might be something that could really help you. Like, it's such a it's hard to describe, to be honest, but it's somewhat the end of struggling and fighting. And it's the beginning of much more flow. It's not a magical fix, you know, like, it's not like you're enlightened or anything is like super amazing and you suddenly healed. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a much smoother flow all of a sudden. You're flowing with life. You float with the current in the river of life instead of always trying to fight against the current and swim upstream. And from that moment on, your soul can come in more fully, can embody much more, and can then basically show you the way, because that's what it was all about. That is the whole reason of your tower moment, of your collapse, of the loss, of, all the stuff before. Because right before all that happened, you were stuck. It was unaligned. Then something bad had to happen. And the shock, the trauma, the grief, and all of that had to get out of the way first to create an opening. And in that moment of deep surrender, your soul can come in, your higher self can come in, God can come in, whatever you want to call it, and takes over. And that doesn't mean in a weird way that you're somehow possessed by something and you don't have your own will anymore. No. It's just like, spirit takes over, but you're still here, like it's a collaboration. You're one and the same. It's nothing outside of you. You will feel it much more. You will feel and know much more what is right for you, what is true for you, your true north. You're finally aligned with your true north. You're finally aligned with your true soul's path and plan for your life, and it will show you the way to your purpose. A new direction will start to open, because the direction before was most likely you were oriented towards that other person, your partner, your whatever, your job, whatever it was. And now you were forced to redirect it all to you and go inwards. And then you realign with your soul, with your true north, and then a new direction will begin to show itself, which is usually a reorientation towards something that is deeply true for you, your purpose in life that leads you to the absolute greatest expansion and fulfillment and happiness and joy and abundance and success and everything that you ever wanted. But it needs to start somewhere, okay? And this is the moment when you can truly surrender. This is when the true alignment begins. It's the hardest thing. It's the hardest moment of your life, but it will turn everything around if you can truly surrender, if you can be open to that, if you can truly let go. And yeah, I don't even know, like when that happened for me, it was not everything easy suddenly. There was still months and months where things had to happen, had to be released, had to be recalibrated, but it was a turning point. And up to that moment, I was so alone with everything. And then all of a sudden, I learned about the 12 steps meeting here. I started to go to them. It was not really that I really needed them anymore, but it helped me so much to finally be heard, to be able to talk about things and to be heard and to be witnessed and to not feel so alone anymore. And that was a huge part of my healing journey. So yeah, that moment of true surrender happens right after hitting rock bottom. And remember also, rock bottom means you are at the very bottom of everything. You can't go further down. The only way back is up again. Things will start to go uphill again from now on, will start to become better from now on. And rock bottom, you can use it as a very strong foundation for your life, for everything that is yet to come. Now we have a really, really strong foundation. It's not built on sand anymore, like maybe the life that you had before that collapse happened. Phase number 5. There is a phase that is called the void, or maybe the 0 point, or the in-between, or the liminal space. This is not talked about a lot, and this is a very uncomfortable phase that happened to me, or that I was in a couple of months after I had the complete rock bottom, and then I started new things. I went to 12 steps meeting. I did a couple of new things, but it was still all the transitional phase. It was still releasing all that old stuff, clearing out the old. And then at some point I knew I have to stop doing this. I have to stop identifying with the eternal student seeker, the needing healing, needing recovery, because I would be trapped still in my old identity that I was trying to, move away from and into something new, and that something new was not there yet. So the void is usually exactly the in-between, where the old is living, but the new is not here yet. It's also a time of where you feel quite disconnected again from spirit. Maybe there's not much happening. Maybe you don't have much guidance or intuition and you don't really know what to do or where to go or anything. And it's very uncomfortable because sometimes you don't even know what to do all day long, because that old stuff that you did and the old interests and the old people, they're all leaving and you don't resonate anymore, but nothing new is here yet. And it's so boring sometimes and so uncomfortable. And maybe like me, you are so used to do the hardcore healing stuff and look at the dark stuff and the transformation and all of that, but that's gone too. But the new amazing stuff, the new thing, the creating something, it's new nourishing connections, all that is not there yet. So you're like, So in that phase, it's very, very important. Know that it's normal. It's really normal. There's nothing crazy happening. This is very, very normal. This phase could last weeks or a month. I mean, I don't know, maybe half a year, like depending on your circumstances. But just know that this is normal. And very important, do not rush into something new just yet. Because you would still be in that recalibration phase. The old is still not completely gone. You're still not really set and settled in that alignment where something new can come in organically. So if you force something new, it might just collapse again because you rushed into it and you were impatient and you didn't want to stay in the void. And it's very understandable, it's human, but try to be patient. Do not rush into anything. Do not force anything. Just focus on very simple things. Focus on a simple routine, do a morning routine, a morning meditation or something, a bit of exercise or stretching, simple things, healthy, nourishing food, drink a lot of water. Try to do things like yoga or meditation, somatic work, any kind of healing stuff. Not like hardcore healing. I'm talking more about like maybe body work, somatic work, or qigong, like maybe even things like dancing or, like drawing or painting or something nourishing. But, something like that is not pulling you back into something that is already trying to leave and that is gone. Just something that gives you a bit of grounding, a bit of structure for the day, that is good for you, that is nourishing you, and just keep it really simple and don't expect too much of yourself just yet. Like, just be very, very kind and patient with yourself. Cut yourself some slack because all that process is not easy. So this is the moment where you can actually really relax. So just sometimes just sit there and do absolutely nothing. This is the best, actually. If you can allow yourself to sit there and do nothing, you don't even do a meditation, do not grab your phone, do not talk to anyone, just let it all settle. Let yourself be recalibrated. Let your soul do its thing, Just sit there maybe for 10 minutes. Take walks in nature, if you can. That would be the best healer of all. Be grounded. Feel your feet on the ground, hug trees, take forest walk or beach walks or whatever, swim in the lake. Anything nature stuff is so, so, so healing and grounding, and it helps you with the embodiment. So this is great. This is great for that phase. 6 is the last one. This is the beginning of the new. This is the beginning of the alignment. This is the beginning of expansion. After all that old has collapsed, has dissolved, this is also the metaphor with the phoenix. Everything had to be burned, completely burned to white ashes, completely. Nothing could stand anymore. Everything had to be removed. Everything had to be burned to the ground. And this is the moment where the phoenix rises from the ashes. It's the first ignition. It's the spark of something new, and that new is your true path. It's the alignment with your soul's path, with your soul's plan, with your true north, with your destiny, whatever you want to call it. And it can feel very anticlimactic at first. It can feel like nothing because we somehow think, or we condition into thinking it's all like fireworks and like, woo, spectacular. But it's much more quiet. At least it was much more quiet for me. Like sudden, like some small moments where I felt all right, actually, where I felt okay, where all of a sudden I was listening to some music that I never listened to before, and I was just dancing outside on my porch while watching the sunset, and I felt good. Small moments where all of a sudden you feel like, maybe I'm actually okay. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I can just trust everything. Maybe nothing bad is happening anymore. Maybe this is actually, this feels actually all right. This feels good, Small moments. It starts with small moments where things feel actually quite okay and quite all right. It can be like, wow, big and crazy and fireworks. I don't know. Maybe. But I think it's more common to start very, very quiet and small. It's also the moment where you start to feel hope, but not the false hope I was talking about before, true hope. True hope for yourself, for your life, for your future. Hope and kind of even a knowingness that you are okay, that you are protected, that you are guided, that you're provided for, that you're loved, that the universe has your back, and that everything that happens from now on is really, really aligned with that, and that everything is just working out for your highest and best. And this is a good mantra that you can tell yourself. I trust that everything is working out for me, always for my highest and best. Even if things happen that your ego mind doesn't like because it had a different plan, but just it comes back to that surrender moment with total trust and true faith that whatever happens is okay and that you're safe, that you're really, really safe now. This is also on a trauma, in a trauma perspective, it could be that time or that moment where you completely come out of fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode, of trauma response mode, of dysregulation mode of the nervous system, and you start to really feel that peace. You are regulated. You are more stable. And you know about your trauma responses, and you catch yourself, or you don't even have them anymore at all. And there's a much more peace, there's more stability within yourself. And as within, so without. If you have a stability and a peace and a security within yourself, then it can and it will be manifested in the world around you to reflect back at you what's already inside. So and new people can come into your life, supportive people, loving people. I'm not even talking about new relationships. If that tower moment, that collapse for you was a breakup or a divorce, don't rush into the next relationship. But it can be someone really helpful for you, maybe a new friend, a new mentor, a therapist, something like that, or supportive groups of people. It can be new interests, new hobbies, new passions starting to wake up in you. Maybe even your true passion of your true purpose starts to awaken in you. Maybe you have an idea or an inspiration what you want to do with your life. Trust that. It's your soul finally getting through to you. It's that spark of some amazing new life, a new beginning, a new direction, a new purpose for you. It's starting, and it shows in your body, because then all the density of that old stuff and the grief and the trauma, it's gone, or mostly gone, and you can feel it in your body, and it feels like expansion. It feels like an opening. Maybe you feel excited about things. Maybe it just feels so right, so aligned, so true for you in whatever way it feels for you. But just know that this is it. Follow that spark, follow that idea, that inspiration, and just start. Just start with something. Like I started with these YouTube videos. I had no idea how to talk on camera. I mean, I still look everywhere but in the camera, but whatever. Just allow yourself to be messy, sloppy, imperfect. You don't have to have it all figured out just yet. Just allow yourself to start creating something, to start expressing yourself. And know that you're expression, your creation, your voice, whatever it is needed in this world. It's wanted in this world. There are people who need to hear what you have to say, who need to listen to your music, who need to look at your art. I don't know, who need to eat your food. Like, I don't know, whatever it is for you, but just know that this is it. This is what it was all for. And this is your new direction and your orientation in life. This is your axis. This is your northern star that guides you the way. And everything that comes into your life from here on out, new friends, new people, one day maybe a new, really true, healthy soulmate relationship, it's not because you needed it because of pain and trauma and, inner emptiness. It's because you're already so whole within yourself, so aligned, so fulfilled that all that stuff comes in all of a sudden naturally and organically. You don't have to force anymore. You don't have to push anymore. It just comes. It comes because you're already so well on your way, and your soul shines its light through you, your eyes, your voice, your heart, your entire presence. And it will naturally attract the people and the situations that are the perfect match for you in frequency, because you're raising your frequency, and all of a sudden life changes. It can be so rapid, it can be so quick. All of a sudden your life changes for the better. So just enjoy it, enjoy the ride, and know that all the pain before, it was not for nothing. It was for that. And if you're still in the first phases and the pain and the grief, I so understand. I so get it. I was there not long ago, but I'm out of it now. And I can promise you, if you go through that process, and there is no other way around it than through it. But if you do that, if you have the courage to go through it and to feel it all, like, I can promise you, it gets better. I can absolutely promise you that. I just know, I know it. So yeah, that's the last thing I want to talk about. It all happened. It had to happen because your life was out of alignment. You were out of sync with your own soul, with the path, with your soul's plan for your life. And it all happened to bring you back to alignment. And this is what I was just talking about. From here on out, your journey can unfold as it needs to, And also know that everything that happened before, all the hardships, the struggle, the trauma, the losses, the grieving, the collapse, the rock bottom, all of that happened to not only bring you back into alignment and to open up that new life for you, but then you have the wisdom and the experience within you, and you embody it so that you can maybe even in some way can help others. Maybe that is part of your purpose. These things don't happen randomly, especially not more than once. It happens usually because your soul chose this on some level, because then you can help people to get through it in whatever, specific flavor you want to do it, or your soul wants to express itself through you out into this world. But just know it was not for nothing. Okay, and if you are still struggling in one of these phases, the first phases, if you're struggling, okay, number one, get support. This is so important. Try not to do it all by yourself. I was so alone. I mean, the first month I got some coaching, but then many months, like 8 months or so, I was completely on my own, completely alone with the grieving. I didn't have friends. It was just so hard. I was so alone. So try to get support. Try to get, a counselor, a mentor, a therapist, or a group or something. If you can't afford that, again, the 12 steps meeting are free or donation-based. You can join things like ACA or CODA or SLA or, whatever. It's not exactly maybe that topic, but you can still talk, you can share, you're heard, you're witnessed. That alone is healing, and it's kind of free. So try to get support. Don't do it all by yourself. This is really, really, really hard. Number 2, be extra kind and compassionate with yourself. Like, do not force yourself to anything. Do not push yourself. Be really, really, really extra kind to yourself. Don't forget the inner child healing. Talk to your inner child that she's safe and that it's all okay and that you love her and that you see her and all of that. Like, it's the worst when we already suffering and everything is so hard that we are then on top of that hard on ourselves. Please don't do that. Please open your heart towards yourself and towards your inner child that is grieving with you. You know, it's mostly her that's grieving. So love, compassion, patience with yourself. Number 3, pray. Pray and meditate as much as you can. Connect as much as you can with the power greater than yourself, with God, the universe, your spirit guides, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. In moments of complete desperation, despair, and grief, I find it very, very helpful to just really pray. And I'm not talking about traditional religious prayers or anything like that. I'm talking about just talk from your heart, like you would talk to your most trusted friend. Talk like whatever you want to talk about. Just talk to your soul, talk to Divine Mother, whoever it is that you resonate with, and talk and pray and just ask for help and for support and to help you see what you can't see it, what needs to be released, what you need to let go of, what you need to feel that you can't feel yet. Like these things, just pray and meditate and be with yourself. Be present with yourself. Number 4, I said it already, yoga, gentle exercise, stretching, somatic body work, anything like that, walks in nature, swimming, maybe breathing techniques or breath work, anything like that would be really, really helpful. And nature, Mother Nature, is the greatest healer of them all. Like just that alone is so, so healing. Just, hug trees, sit in the forest, swim in the ocean, whatever it is. Or if you live in a city, at least go to the park and look at flowers or something. Like touch the grass, put your feet on the ground. Grounding yourself is very, very helpful. Number 5, I already said it already. Keep it simple. Eat healthy. Eat clean. Drink a lot of water. Have a good night's sleep. Try to sleep. I know sometimes it's really hard to sleep. Try to go to bed early and try to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, because a lot of healing is also happening in our sleep. Tip number 6 is try not to distract yourself too much, and if you can, just don't do it at all. Like mainstream media, news, lots of social media, lots of entertainment, low vibe entertainment, dark movies, series, horror stuff, true crime stuff, dark thriller stuff, or books, like anything that is low vibrational, that is a lot of information from the outside, that is fear-based, is not helping you in these phases at all. Like try to reduce them and try to watch and read, more like spiritual stuff, things like, I don't know, Eckhart Tolle or any kind of more nourishing things, or not at all, and you just read things like Lord of the Rings or something, like just something more wholesome, something more calm, like feel good books or series or movies, nothing dramatic or dark. Number, I have no fingers free. The last one is, said it already, be open for support. The first support I mentioned was more like professional support. And the last thing is like be open for more loving people coming into your life. Sometimes we are very, very closed off to receiving and to trusting people, that people actually mean well. And there are good people out there. There are helpful people out there, and you deserve healthy connections. You deserve to be liked, loved, recognized, respected, supported, So just be open for new and better loving connections and relationships in your life, and know that you deserve them. Know that you deserve mutually beneficial, supportive, helpful, loving relationships. And they will come when you start to align with your soul's light, with your true north. Things start moving, and you will start attracting, new people, relationships, communities connections that are very, 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 that resonate with you and that make your life all of a sudden more interesting, more exciting. And these new connections can also open doors for you, new opportunities, things that you didn't previously know that even exists. You talk to someone and suddenly that someone says, oh yeah, I know about this thing, or do you know about that? And they give you a link to something and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know about that. And it could open a whole new trajectory for you, So yeah, just be open to support, be open to receiving. And be aware of when you are sharing in sharing circles or in 12 steps meetings and you share anywhere else where there are wounded people, when they are talking about their lives and their experiences, just be very mindful that you don't fall into the trap of trauma bonding again. You hang out with them afterwards and then everyone talks about how shit everything is and how hard everything is, and you bond through your wounds and traumas. That maybe has a place at some point in the earlier phases of life, but not after the alignment starts. Like, don't fall back into trauma bonding and codependency and stuff like that. Maybe the universe will send you some people where you will then quickly feel all of a sudden, oh, that doesn't feel aligned anymore. I don't resonate with that anymore. And you can just say, okay, sorry, bye, have a good life. And, I don't need to make a drama about it, but it gets easier to set boundaries, say no, and say, okay, this is not aligned for you, for me, and just move on. And that's it. And, usually these unaligned connections just fall away by themselves. And then they don't even come anymore into your field and into your reality. And again, you attract much more high vibrational, nourishing, helpful, and supportive connections, situations, and circumstances in life. So that was a very long video. I hope it helped you. In whatever phase you are, just know you're not alone. Know that you're supported. Know that other people go through this. I went through this not long ago, and not for the first time. Know that you're not doing anything wrong. On the contrary, you are actually now in alignment with your soul's path, even if it doesn't look like it. Even if it's very hard. And again, I send you so much love. I send you so much love because, it's really not easy. But again, you're not alone and you can do this. You can do this. You're strong enough. Otherwise, you wouldn't even go through this right now. You are strong enough. And things will get better. I promise you. I send you so much love. Have a great day. Goodbye.